Here's where it starts. You might be pre-verbal. You might have been a toddler, and guess what you did? You put your hand down your pants. You know why? Not because you wanted to masturbate, because it's self-soothing. But your parents were like, oh my God, the grandparents are here, or we're in Safeway. And they were like, don't do that. That's wrong. That's dirty. They knock your hand away. So you know what that means? Your very first message about your genitals were that, oh, this is bad. This is wrong. I probably shouldn't touch them. And if I do, that's shameful. And no one ever thinks to correct that. That's where it starts. And then that can just continue throughout life. I often ask people like, can you remember the earliest memory you had about sex?
Did you know that repressed shame is one of the driving forces that disconnects people from pleasure in the bedroom? And did you know that repressed shame keeps us from speaking our needs, wants, and desires for what we want in the bedroom? In this episode with Dr. Emily Morse, a renowned sex therapist, we change gears from our typical conversation into something a little bit deeper: the nervous system and shame, and how shame can ruin relationships. Dr. Emily Morse hosts the long-running podcast, Sex with Emily. She's a doctor of human sexuality, and she's a leading authority in sexual health and relationships. And she's a masterclass instructor on sex and communication. If you're in a relationship or you're single and you truly feel disconnected from your sexual authenticity, this episode is for you. We will go over not only the root of all of these issues, but how to move through them practically so you create better overall sexual health with yourself and in your relationships. Today's podcast is hosted live at Mudwater Gather in Santa Monica, California. If you don't know Mudwater, it is a clean, functional alternative to coffee. It gives you energy, focus, and immune support without any of the crash, and it's made of 100% organic ingredients. It's got adaptogenic mushrooms to help modulate your cortisol levels. A lot of us are stressed out there. Ayurvedic herbs, and cacao for that nice flavor. Mudwater offers a fraction of the caffeine in coffee, just 35 milligrams in their signature blend. You compare that to 90 to 120 milligrams of caffeine in coffee, and you got yourself a perfect drink that is not going to get you buzzed all day, but instead you'll stay grounded. Mudwater has been out for a long time. It's got a giant list of subscribers that keep coming back because they love it. So if you want to join the movement and fuel your mind and your body naturally, visit mudwater.com/DRG. That is MUDWTR.com/DRG, or use the code DRG to get 15% off of your order.
Boy, do we have an experience for you today. You know, we didn't just want to do a podcast. We didn't want to just drop knowledge where you absorb it in here. But we wanted to have a little activation for you so you feel it from the neck down. So I'm very excited to have this in two parts. And really, my goal and everyone else's goal is for you to learn some good stuff, feel your own energy, sexual energy, and then have some time to connect with a new person, meet a new friend. This is what we need. We need community so our nervous system feels connected with each other. So without further ado, let's start this podcast with Emily Morse. She's been the OG of sexual health. She's been the OG of podcasting. And a lot of you don't know, she's an OG. And I have so much respect for the work that you've done as a pioneer and having people connect to really, really deep, potent parts of them. And when it comes to sexual health, I did this for many years, this health thing, from nutrition to toxins. And at the end of the day, I really came to this place where if we don't feel safe in our nervous system, well, then we're not in a really healthy place. It's very important. And so the nervous system is everything. Well, what part of the nervous system is really one of the biggest detrimental blockers to nervous system health? And it's shame. Shade. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Emily, welcome and thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to do this with you.
Okay, so speaking on shame, really potent energy that gets stuck in the system. In your experience, how do you see shame manifesting in couples and singles? How does shame manifest sexually?
Okay, well, shame is a heady stew. Let me say this. I call it the pleasure thieves, and it's stress, trauma, and shame. And those are the three things that's really keeping us from having the sex lives that we desperately desire, that we crave. And we all know when we feel, anyone ever here feel anxious, and then you're like, why aren't I in the mood for sex, right? Or you have trauma lives in your body. We're going to talk about that. But shame, man, shame is such a heady stew. And it really permeates so many areas of our lives. We might feel shame, and sometimes we don't even realize that it's shame, but it could be the culture we grew up in. Maybe we were told it wasn't okay to be sexual by a certain age, or someone shamed our body, or we just got messages from society that told us you shouldn't be sexual, or maybe we got a direct criticism of parts of our body and someone made us feel bad. And let me tell you this, that stuff just doesn't evaporate. I can't tell you how many people I talk to. I'll have 40-year-olds writing me in the show and saying, I don't know what it is, but every time I have sex, I feel really bad after, or I feel shame like I did something wrong. So that's just the heady part of shame, but it also lives in our body. So let me remind you that when we have these shame thoughts, it also has an impact on our cortisol. So we have these cortisol spikes, just like anxiety. So, well, it's great for survival, right? Like we're survival mode. It's really not great for arousal. So if you're in a place of heightened cortisol, shame, negative thoughts, it's going to cancel out your arousal, and it's going to be really hard to feel aroused and turned on. And this is really the missing link, to identify the things that's actually keeping us from having pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Shame is really, really potent energy, and it comes from my understanding when we were younger most of the time. And can it be something as simple as a comment that, hey, you're supposed to hide that part of you?
Okay. Yeah, let me tell you this. Here's where it starts. You might be pre-verbal. You might have been a toddler, and guess what you did? You put your hand down your pants. You know why? Not because you wanted to masturbate, because it's self-soothing. But your parents were like, oh my God, the grandparents are here, or we're in Safeway. And they were like, don't do that. That's wrong. That's dirty. They knock your hand away. So you know what that means? Your very first message about your genitals were that, oh, this is bad. This is wrong. I probably shouldn't touch them. And if I do, that's shameful. And no one ever thinks to correct that. That's where it starts. And then that can just continue throughout life. I often ask people, can you remember the earliest memory you had about sex? Like in high school, what your message was around sex, right? And from a lot of women, I hear oh God, don't be slutty, but be slutty enough, or I shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't do that. And guys are like, I better go out there and get laid. There's just all these messages. And a lot of times we're still carrying around that teenage self or that toddler self that we don't even remember. And that is the early messaging that starts, and it never dissipates. We never have anyone correct it and go, you know what? Those voices have been planted in your head. It's created some negative conditioning, but it really no longer serves you. It never really did. So this is why we get to kind of flip the script, realize that we are worthy of pleasure, and then today we're going to do some exercises where we're actually going to get it out of our body.
Mm-hmm. Powerful. When we think in the context of shame being expressed and repressed for such a long time, you said it could be there since we were toddlers, or maybe we learned something on a movie when we were young. We hear a comment from one of our parents. Maybe it's cultural, maybe it's religious. But
or epigenetics, right? It's like in our father's sperm passed on to us from 7 generations. We don't have to go there, but it's true. There could be a lot of things, but yeah.
So you've done this for a long time, and you've been connecting that shame is really, really part of this. For the people who are experiencing shame, is it where their heart's beating and they're sweating before they have sex, or are they freezing?
It's a great question. It manifests in so many different ways. It could be disassociation. Anyone have the experience where you're having sex and all of a sudden you're leaving the room, you've completely disassociated. Maybe you're not feeling anything at all. Maybe you're wondering when this is going to be over. Did I text my boss back? Can my neighbors hear me? or like, am I doing this right? How does my body look? Like, that's also how shame shows up. It could be a numbing in your body. So that's when you're not feeling something, the disassociation. It could be anxiety. It could be just a complete shutdown of your nervous system that like it's a no-go zone. Your libido is completely dropped because of all of these thoughts and conditioning. I mean, it sort of infiltrates the entire arousal system in so many ways.
You hear about intimacy issues in relationships, or you hear, I know I've had people in my life go, oh, I have intimacy issues. My partner tells me that all the time. Would you think that this is one of the major roots in intimacy issues?
Absolutely. I think that shame is is probably one of the biggest problems in intimacy issues, that because shame basically tells us that we are, what is the Brene Brown, that guilt is I am bad, and shame is this right, or vulnerability, shame is that I did something bad, and shame is like, and vulnerability, shame is I am bad. And so if we're walking around thinking like I'm a bad person for a reason we don't really understand, or I don't deserve this, and that is your messaging, that is your conditioning, well, that's going to completely block you from intimacy, because at the end of the day, we all want to be loved, adored, admired, and have someone think we're hot, right? So if we feel shame and we don't actually feel lovable, and I never understood that. We were like, oh, I don't feel lovable. I'm like, I'm loved. But this is like this deeper level of like, I am so afraid that if I share this shame with you and I'm vulnerable, that ultimately you're not going to love me, or I'm going to scare you away. And I'm not even going to know how to say it. So I'm just going to not say anything. And I'm just going to kind of close my eyes and hope for the best every time we have sex. Like, I'm not going to really say anything, and I'm going to stumble through it, because talking about it and addressing it seems way more painful than just silently suffering through bad sex.
I can say, as a man, not speaking for all men, but as a man, disconnected sex is something that we learn early on. We have only modeled through what we hear from our friends or pornography. And sometimes it's difficult for us to open up our hearts or feel actually very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And ironically, it tends to be what our partners want most from us. And so in your work, what are some tangible practices that really start getting to the root of intimacy issues?
Yeah, of getting to well, first recognizing it and saying, okay, I realize that maybe I'm not feeling as connected. I'm feeling a little bit disassociated. What is that about? So really it's just admitting that, okay, I want to change the way I'm feeling or not feeling in the bedroom. And then you get to look at, well, what is it first? Okay, so maybe I have some limiting beliefs, some negative self-talk around sex. What are those voices? And you can like flip the script, and you can kind of do affirmations. I am somebody who is worthy of pleasure. My body is a temple that is, accessible to pleasure and joy all the time. Like, that would just be one to kind of handle the shame and recognize it, and realizing that it is not a fixed state, and you can change that state. The other thing is having open, honest conversations with your partner, and someone who's open, saying, you know what, I realize that maybe we need to hold on our intimacy a lot, because I want to say this. A lot of problems with sex is exactly what you said. We don't feel connected. We feel completely disconnected. And so just saying, why don't we just try to connect a little bit more, talk about these things? Maybe we even take sex off the table. And when I say sex, we often define sex as penetration. And if I could do anything, like, we center it on the old in and out. And there's so much more to sex than just that. It could be touching, erotic massage, kissing, conversation. And so just really acknowledging then that there's a way that I want to feel more connected. I also think it's important to do some of these like somatic exercises that we're going to do. Like, I know with my partner, and we were talking about this before, I too get disconnected during sex. I too sometimes don't feel as aroused or turned on when I want to. Sometimes the stress of my day takes over, and I haven't yet made that separation. Do you guys ever have that pressure? Like, my day I have a lot going on, and now it's date night. And now I have to I've had no pleasure all day. I've had no downtime, but I should be really aroused and ready for sex. Like, how the hell is that supposed to happen? Like, it's really unrealistic. So I've learned to say to partners, okay, let's stop for a minute. Can we just breathe? can we just let's just look into each other. Let's take a few moments. Maybe we should take a walk together. Like separate the day and do all the things that relax your nervous system so then you're ready maybe for intimacy. So those are just a few places to start.
Yeah, it's the shift in cortisol.
Yes.
Right? So in that freeze state, even in that sympathetic, when your heart's beating and you're sort of not ready for sex, but kind of forcing yourself into it, you have this rush of hormones and it's telling your body you're not safe, especially if you haven't unwound or deconnected from all of the stress in your workday, especially if you're busy out there.
Yeah.
And so even in the freeze state, you have this, I'm frozen, but your cortisol's up, your heart's beating because you can't get out of it. So these transition times, especially when you're with your partner in intimate time, are important.
So important. I would even tell a past partner, I was like, if we're not even doing anything, even if I'm working late, because I work a lot, I'm like, I need to take a shower or take a steam or meditate for 5 minutes before you ever see. Because then I kept finding it was early in the relationship and I would be excited to see him. And then I'd show up and I'd still be texting and frantic. So I was like, you don't want to see me until I do this thing. So even if you're dating, just know yourself and know what makes me feel that I can actually calm my nervous system the best. And a lot of us are rushing around and doing things, and I get it, but just getting into that practice of, even if it's 5 minutes, just calming before you see your partner, if you're in a relationship, do it together, or just recognize I can't be ready for sex just when you are. And that's a lot of what I also talk about at Sex with Emily, is that no one's ever told us when. We've never actually thought about, when do I actually want sex? What times of day? What needs to happen? What are the precursors? What are all the things that have to go on in the environment for me to actually be ready? And once we get to troubleshoot that, I call this sexual IQ or sexual intelligence. I wrote a book about this last year, about the 5 pillars of sex IQ. And basically it's sex is wellness. So it's not and for 20 years, I'm get this tip, get this toy, do this thing, do this, but they all work. All of them work. They will. However, if you are not fully in your body and aware of what your wants actually are, it's going to be really hard to receive, even if it's the kind of touch you want or the sex toy that you love, until you figure this stuff out. And this part is a practice. And I know that a lot of my early sexual experiences were highly performative. My partner was ready for sex. I should be ready to go. And I always thought something was wrong with me, because if they want sex and I don't, clearly I'm the problem. So it takes a lot of undoing, unlearning, but most importantly, learning who you are as a sexual being.
Amen to that. You speak so much about communication before sex, after sex, sometimes even during sex. Communication about our wants, needs, and desires. But for those of us that are disconnected from our bodies, how do we start exploring that? Is it self-pleasure and going, oh, wow, my left armpit feels great.
Yes.
My right armpit, no, I don't feel safe. How do we really start exploring so we can even communicate that, especially for so many of us who are disconnected from our bodies? Let me share something with you that has been an absolute game changer. I just had one on last night and was having a conversation with it. Is a red light mask from Bon Charge. My face was glowing red in this conversation. And I really first discovered it when I was looking for natural solutions for fine lines and wrinkles. Yes, I'm 40. I'm getting up there. And I want something that's backed by science. And I know that red light therapy is one of the major things we're missing in the beauty industry and healthy skin. And what sets this mask apart is that it's strong. A lot of these red lights, they're not strong enough to do much. You got to wear them for a really long time. This one, you don't have to. And they remove all the sleep disrupting blue and green light frequencies so you can wear it at night. And that's when I do it. When I'm winding down, if I have a little movie on or something, I put it on all the time. I get the bang for the buck while I'm doing 2 things. And it uses near infrared and red light to boost collagen production. You want to do it from the root. You can't always eat collagen and think your skin's going to be better. You want to absolutely stimulate the production of collagen, and you do it with red light. It's EMF free, it's easy to use, and it gives your skin an amazing glow. And I mean it. There are research studies on this. If you don't believe me, look at the effect of red light and collagen and overall skin, fine lines. There's peer-reviewed studies across the board. If you want to upgrade your skin, go try the Bon Charge face mask. It's a cute little red light mask. It's easy to wear, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, whatever you have. Use it every day and see how it improves. To get this face mask, visit the link in the show notes and use the code DRG. You're going to save 15% off of your order. That is DRG, from Bond Charge. Let's talk about something that is crucial for our health, but often overlooked. It is hydration. And I'm not talking about just drinking water. I'm talking about getting electrolytes. Sometimes water doesn't even hydrate you, right? You need electrolytes. I love LMNT, and I especially love their brand new LMNT sparkling drink that I keep in my fridge. I use it after every sauna session. And what really sets LMNT apart is their science-based formula. They actually provide 2 to 3 times more sodium than the typical recommendation, plus the perfect balance of potassium and magnesium. And they do it without any sugar, any artificial ingredients, none of that nasty stuff, right? And they have their 16-ounce sparkling cans. And this is the on-the-go hydration. They have different flavors. You put it in the fridge, and when you need something cold to really hit, whoa. I'm telling you right now, you're going to love it. Whether you're an athlete or just on a low carb diet, or you want to avoid headaches, brain fog coming from electrolyte imbalance, LMNT is simple. It's easy to use. It's tasty. You get a free sample pack with any purchase at drinklmnt.com/DRG. That is DRINKLMNT.com/DRG.
A great place to start is with solo play. I like to call it solo play because masturbation sometimes is triggering for people, but that's what we're talking about. And again, sometimes shame comes along with masturbation. We feel like, oh, I shouldn't have to do it. Or so many people say to me, I have a partner, I don't need to do that anymore. But it is a greatest act of self-care because I like to call it mindful masturbation. So this is the practice of basically think of it a date night with yourself. So you're turning off the phone, you're taking a bath, you're locking the door, and this process is a process. The goal of this is exploration and not orgasm. It's like, how does it feel when I use my right hand on my inner elbow is an erogenous zone, or the nape of my neck. I always know I like when my partner kisses my neck, but it really does feel good when I forgot about that. So it's really just discovering all the ways that your body can experience pleasure. And I'm telling you, in these 20 years, and one of the impetuses for starting this career path, people was like, how'd you get, did you come out of the womb talking about sex? Hell no. I had all the shame, all the performative sex, and I realized that I kept having sex that just didn't feel great. So the most I learned was actually becoming my own sex expert and saying what I actually like. So then I could share that with a partner. And that included toys and experimenting. And also our bodies change all the time. You kind of expand the window, you open there might be one area, but then once you kind of breathe into it, you're like, wow, there's other parts of my body that feel good too. A lot of us know the primary erogenous zones, right? Like our breasts, our genitals. But once you start to touch and then you breathe into it, you're like, oh, who knew? My side boob or my inner thigh or the back of my knee. We are covered in nerve endings, and those nerve endings feel incredible when touched in the right way.
That sounds nice.
That's your homework assignment.
For so many of us who want to explore that, lean into it, but then maybe have some shame in communicating this. How do I communicate to my partner my wants, needs, or desires? Are there any tips? Do we do it in the bedroom? Do we do it over coffee the next day? How does that work?
Okay, so here's my rules for having any awkward conversation I'm just going to say it. Most conversations about sex tend to be awkward and uncomfortable because most of us do not talk about it. We don't have role models of talking about it. We already talked about that we're so afraid that our partner is going to not love us or leave us or abandon us, or we don't know what to say, all the things. So here's my 3 T's for any conversation about sex. The first is timing. You want to find a time where you're chilling, just the two of you. Remember this, you don't want to be hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Not a good time. The tone is curious and compassionate, and it's chill. It's like, hey, you know what I realized? I feel like I would love for us to kind of talk about our sex life and how it's been going and what you like and what I like. Because I realize I have no idea. I'm guessing it feels good to you, but why don't we talk about it? And I always tell people to blame me, blame us. So I was listening to this podcast and they said couples don't talk about it. Because I'm telling you, 99% of couples do not talk about it in a way that is effective. And then the turf outside the bedroom. Let's just leave the bedroom for sleeping and for sex, because when we're in the bedroom, we might be aroused, there might be something happening, and then we're like, why didn't you go down on me again? And then that doesn't come out well, or why don't we talk about what just happened? So I think when you're on a road trip, when you're going for a walk, and why I love that is because then maybe you don't have to make eye contact, but it's still intimate conversation. So try the T's. Remember that next time.
For the people out there, okay, so now you got me thinking, okay, for the people out there who have this performance anxiety, they go, I want to show up for my partner, or I want to show up for this person I'm going on a date with or dating, whatever it is. How can we start? You say that maybe sex isn't the end outcome. How do we come to a place where that's not pushed by someone? Like, okay, this was a failure if she didn't orgasm, he didn't orgasm. This was a failure if we didn't have intercourse. Because it's sort of ingrained. I'm thinking about, again, pornography, culture. It always is the same series of things that happen for the most part.
So porn without sex education is a disaster. Okay, let's just say that. People who grew up with porn in their pocket or learned from porn, it's a mess. I mean, that is just really, but this has been going on even before porn was readily available on our smartphones, is that we've been told that it's very goal-oriented. And I can tell you why. There's been so much culturally, religious, like sex is about penetration because that's how you make babies, okay? But when you really look at female sexuality and female arousal, which really has not been studied enough, basically women were kind of seen as like small men. Like that's how we study medication, that's how we were studying arousal. But female sexuality and male sexuality is a lot more complex than we give it credit for. And so really understanding our own arousal cycle and that centering it on like connection maybe and touch and like, why don't we even just take this penetration off the table? And maybe one night, like I love doing this stuff. Like tonight, it's just about my pleasure. My partner's going to give me erotic massage or just touch my body and I'm going to tell him what feels good. And maybe it ends in orgasms, maybe it doesn't. And then the next night it's about them. Or you switch on that same night, or you just really sort of pay attention and you explore it and you go slow. Like sex goes so fast. Anyone ever been in that situation where you're like, you're making out and you're like, I really love making out and I love that you're touching me slowly and you're slowly taking off my clothes and then boom, you're naked and there's a penis in you. Like, I'm like, what? Not that it's bad, but I'm like, how this moves so fast. I loved the making out. I love when you were kissing me all over my body. And now it's gone fast. And I used to think it wasn't okay to stop sex. Like I had this fear around like blue balls, that was like a real thing. No offense, it might be, I don't have a penis. But like they were going to call 911 because someone had blue balls and it was my fault. And then forever like sex with them, I gave someone blue balls. But like we are allowed to control the pace, the direction, the timing, and the vibe of sex. And so for couples, I just say, get curious. What kind of sensations feel good? That's why I love vibrators, not just for orgasm, but like giving your partner a sensual massage with like some coconut oil, and then you take some vibrations over it and be like, what, it feels great on men too. How does that feel on your body? So just like couples reframing what is actually possible, and just like saying like, we're going to explore, we're going to learn together, and we're going to like just again explore all the other things, but maybe wait on the penetration. You know, again, I want to remind you that only 20% of women have an orgasm from anything to do with a penis, no matter how wonderful your penis is. And I'm sure it's amazing, but we are mostly going to orgasm from a finger, a mouth, or toys. Add in a little bit of lube. So, like, I just want you all to know that. And then there's the woman who's like, every time, I love you. I want to be you in my next life. I get it. That's not me. That's not a lot of women. So just like, we just need to understand this. And it doesn't mean we won't penetrate and do all the things, but there is the buildup and the arousal and like the other touch and stuff that we need to really have a fully sexual experience. And most women are capable of multiple orgasms. We just don't know it yet. That's just a side note.
That's a side note we're going to go down right now.
We'll go back that. We'll go put a pin in that.
Is there a lot of, since you've been doing this work, are there a lot of women who say, I can't orgasm, I have shame around this. It's actually pressure every time we have sex. My partner feels like he did wrong or didn't reach something, and it's causing tension and it's unnecessary.
Yes, every single day. So that was your actual question, is like this pressure, like we have this pressure that if he or she doesn't, whoever doesn't orgasm, that we have failed. So let me address that. First off, for women who aren't mostly having sex that's going to make them orgasm, there's a huge pressure that if I don't orgasm, I'm almost more worried that you're going to, I'm pretending we're going to, but I know your girlfriends, but we're going to be bummed. like I want, so that's why I faked orgasm. I was like a professional faker forever. I was like, I've got to get this over with because I don't want you to feel bad. There's all this pressure that sex is a success if somebody orgasms. So there is that huge pressure that I just want to remove that, because actually we're responsible for our own orgasms. We all are, not our partners. And then for men too, God, my heart goes out to men, because you not only do you have to like, supposedly culturally says you should know what you're doing. You should lead it. You should always be aroused, turned on, hard, know exactly what you're doing, have your orgasm, but not first. She should have hers first, and then you orgasm, and then you should be able to go back and forth, but you should still be hard the whole time. Like, it's ridiculous. Think of all of these standards and all this pressure when we haven't even gotten to all the reasons why that's hard for many of us. Like, not only just the stress, trauma, and shame, but like our health, our medications we're taking, anxiety, worry, how confidence levels, like just a million things are going to impact this crazy standard of society that should always end in magical orgasms or God or what's it called? Orgasm at the same time. What are they called? Mutual
orgasms.
Simultaneous orgasms. I try to forget that term because it never happens. Simultaneous orgasms is like the goal.
Yeah.
Like, that might happen, but like every time. So do you see that already the standards that we have for sex are way up here and they're way unrealistic? And beneath that is that we don't even know what we really like and what gets us there, because we've been so focused on our partners and a lot of the information has been wrong. So yes, today I'd like to take everyone, just take the pressure off. That's why it lives though. Like, there's pressure on men, there's pressure on women. It's not anyone's fault except for like, I don't patriarchy, but I'm not going to say that because not in a loving way that we all are part of it. Like, that's how we learned about sex. Like, I love men. Like, my half my listeners have always been men, more than that. Like, I fucking get it. But that's been society's conditioning, that female sexuality is on the side and male sexuality is dominant. And so of course we've all learned that too.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
So much pressure.
And then we go in and we're just like, oh, well, I'm
Then
supposed
what
to
happens?
perform and
Yeah, it's
feel
all
good.
performance. And then you have to get hard, or you lose your erection, or you come too quickly, or then we can't come, and
then
It's a
we
disaster.
add in shame in there.
shame is everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember I had this moment. Do you remember a few years ago, Goop came out with like these series, and one was about sex. It was a really potent moment where this guy was having his partner kind of just move her hand around his body, and he started shaking. And for so many years, this man thought he was just like every man, like physical sex, penetration. This is sex. I'm sexual.
Yeah.
And his body's moving, and she's not even touching him. And then he has tears coming down his eyes because he has this awakening that, wow, this is giving me so much pleasure. This is more my sexual language. And this guy was 45 years old. Most of his life, he thought it was just about penetration, physical. And so in your experience, do you see sometimes in partnership, there's people who's really sensitive to energy and kind of just wants that deep connection, maybe the connection hours before is foreplay, versus maybe the other partner, no, I want the physical, I want the touch, I want it fast, I want it hard, whatever it is.
Yes.
And can that cause a rift in a relationship?
I am going to talk to you about something crucial for your health. That is your blood vessels, your vascular system. Did you know that your vascular health actually underpins everything in your body? Why? It's all over your body. It's from how vibrant your skin looks, how well your organs and muscles are functioning, right? They need their food, and that's the blood. But here's the thing. Factors like stress, high sugar diets, right? Just natural aging can actually damage and delicate the inside layer. And it needs support. It really does, especially if you're working out, especially if you have a family history of heart disease, especially if you just want to stay healthy. And that's where our friends at Calroy, they come in. They have a product called Arteriosil HP. Their Arteriosil HP is the only supplement with something called Monotum RS, and that's a unique seaweed derived ingredient. It's scientifically, there's science base here. We're not just wooing here. Scientifically shown to protect and restore that endothelial inside layer, the one that is susceptible to all those things that I mentioned. And this is one I take every single morning, 3 a day. And then I take the Vascanox HP. This one I take on the days that I work out. It provides nitric oxide support for 24 hours. It helps your blood vessels open up, relax and open up to get blood vessels to where they need it the most. And right now, Calroy is offering a special deal exclusively for you, the Heal Thyself listener. Go to calroy.com/DRG and save over $50 when you purchase Vascular and Arterial Sil Bundle. Plus, you get a free canister of 2-in-1 nitric oxide test strips. I have them. I still got to do them with a 3-pack bundle purchase. Visit calroy.com/DRG. That is CALROY.com/DRG. Now, you know, I came across some pretty eye-opening research lately. Turns out that 3 out of 4 homes in America have harmful contaminants in their tap water. That's crazy. 3 out of 4? Come on. I don't do math good, but that's 75%, ain't it? There's a lot of stuff that we're drinking that could be problematic to our body. Our bodies are about 60% water, and staying hydrated is super crucial for our health. But the quality of the water matters just as much as the quantity. And you know I'm about finding simple, effective solutions to health problems. I love AquaTrue. It is a water purifier that uses a 4-stage reverse osmosis process. It removes 15 times more contaminants than that average pitcher filter like the Brita. And what really caught my attention was how it deals with PFAS. It gets rid of those forever chemicals, the stuff that we're hearing so much about that is so nasty to our body. It's a big deal, and it's found in 45% of US tap water. These PFAS are being eliminated, and we know that they're such an issue for our health long term because they stay in our body for a really long time. But it's super easy. It's countertop, no plumbing, no insulation. You just plug it in, you're good to go. And let me tell you, the difference is taste is incredible. The filters last way longer than you'd expect. We're talking about 6 months to 2 years, depending on the type of model. And get this, one set of filters from their classic purifier makes an equivalent of 4,500 bottles of water. That is less than 3 cents a bottle. Head over to aquatrue.com and you'll get 20% off of any AquaTrue purifier. That is AQUATRU.com, and use the code DRG at checkout. You know, for years, I always talk about keeping things as clean and natural as possible. We do our best to educate ourselves, especially in the realm of personal wellness. Well, Personal Fave has a fantastic line of products all surrounding sex. They have a non-toxic wet sex serum and a Peak CBD pleasure oil that are 100% organic ingredients, so you actually feel good about what you're putting into your body. They use natural organic ingredients like chamomile, ginseng, horny goatweed, and rose. And while you're getting all of these organic, clean ingredients, they're using this to enhance your intimacy and wellness. No chemicals, no additives. So if you're looking for a really clean, natural way to boost your pleasure and wellness, and when I did a rundown on the field of all the companies behind sexual health, a lot of them were unknowingly or maybe knowingly putting poor quality ingredients in their products. That's why I was so excited to find Personal Fave, because they're doing it right. So if you're looking for a natural, clean way to boost your pleasure and wellness, check out Personal Fave.
This is what causes the rift in the relationship, because we all have different desire styles. Like, some of us want like a deep conversation and we want to really feel connected to our partner. We want like to look into each other's eyes and have more of an energetic feeling, like that whole, and have everyone ever seen that people have orgasms just by like touch over your body? I mean, that's a real thing. A lot of us, that's not going to happen because of the stress and anxiety. We can't even relax into it. But then someone else is just like, I just want the physical. I want to be grabbed. I want to be touched. I want to be, that, and it's all okay. But when we don't have the language to talk about it, don't even have words for what that kind of sex is, of course it's going to cause a rift in a relationship. Like, I would say that is the problem in most relationships, is mismatch desire styles, mismatch sexual desires. And so this is the kind of stuff we have to get curious about. Like, I wonder what is actually the thing that's going to turn me on, but it doesn't mean that those couples are doomed, because it's about just learning to work together. So you might want some touch and energetics, and I'll do that for you. But afterwards, let's say, just throw me down on the bed. We get to figure it out. It's a dance, And again, this conversation, which I love that we're having, it's about like knowing that you're not broken, you're not wrong, there's nothing wrong with you. We just have never been taught this secret language of arousal, desire, and like what we actually need. Like, even taking a beat, going, what was the best? When do I feel the most around? Is it energetics? Is it eye gazing? Is it like dirty talk, or like a surprise? Or there's just so many other ways to slice the sex.
Yeah. One of the most potent moments for me and my whole journey was when I learned about these sexual archetypes.
And I actually learned that, wow, the environment really matters to me. Like, I don't want a cold environment. I don't want a loud environment. I don't want lights that are hitting me. I have to actually feel a certain way to even be in the mood, which brought so much liberation to me, because I'm like, wow, well, I don't have to push against something that's not in my nature, that's not true and authentic to me. And I can communicate that now. I have tools to say, hey, I like a Himalayan salt lamp. Let's put the Himalayan salt lamp on.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
these communication and speaking about these things is really important, but we have to know ourselves first.
Right, that's self-knowledge. That's a self-knowledge pillar of sex IQ, is that like knowing, and I love that you brought up the atmosphere. That's a really great place to start. Everyone ever like, you're about to have sex and you're like, there's laundry on my bed, the bright lights are on, it's freezing in the house. I remember with my ex, I was like, first time I went to his house, it was freezing. Like, it was so cold in there, I was shaking. And I was like, do you understand that if it is cold in your house, my entire body just shut down and I will never be able to have sex? Next time I went over, like the heat was blaring and the fireplace was going, and it was like, okay, point taken. So what else do you need in your body? Do you need to have meditated that day? Do you need to make sure that all your windows are closed on your laptop and in your brain? Do the sheets have to be clean? The dishes out of the sink? Do you have to have resolved that little riff you had with your partner earlier in the day, or you just can't move forward? Do you have your period and you're like, you know what? I actually need to honor that when I'm actually bleeding, menstruating, like it's not it. But maybe we could just cuddle or do erotic massage. The food you eat, like I ate something that I don't feel great. Like we have to, like we would talk about, listen, if we would talk about these things, if let's say we were going to the gym together, work out, I'd be like, oh, well, today's not the best day for my legs because yesterday I did legs. And so you're like, cool. Like, today's not the best day for oral because I'm this, or let's just make out. Like, the problem is that there's never been a sex menu anywhere. We've never actually created our own owner's manual, which is what I highly encourage people to do. And I launched a community called Smart SX. And basically it is a membership community where we're having coaching, and we're basically creating our own owner's manual. And we're going to go through all the pillars so you could actually think about, what are the requirements for me to be ready for sex? Without the shame, without the blame, just straightforward. You could even write it up. I hope that we all write it up and put it in our phones or laminate it and put it on whatever, frame it so we know. But it's okay, because no one's ever, because up until recently, we just thought that sex was just some like magical fairy dust unicorn thing, and like, chemistry, I hope it works with this person. It was really great at the beginning, but now it's not. And like, hope we figure it out. And then we don't. So like, I want you all to like get ahead of it. Like, you can figure it out. You just need to know what you're looking for.
For the couples out there, you just mentioned it, like it was hot in the beginning and it kind of maybe just got a little stale, less sex, or it sort of plateaued. What are some of the things that you know are really potent interventions, really potent things that the two can do to get things going again?
Well, first you have to recognize that you are, like, your neurochemicals, like you are bonding in the beginning with the most delicious cocktail of hormones that are keeping you, like, bonding you. Like, it is the best. Like, they call it the honeymoon stage for a reason, which lasts anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. And that is the best time in your life. I get it. However, what couples can do is recognize, and this might sound like a buzzkill, but there is a good way to do it. Like, it's not going to last forever. I've never met a couple where that lasts forever. And if you do, like, you should be like, I want to talk to you. I want to build a statue to you. Like, I want to know who you are. So first noticing, like, this is great. This is what's bringing together, and we love this time. But recognizing that we better start talking about sex right now, even when it's great. Like, what are we loving about this? What are we not loving about it? Like, let's keep talking, and then continue to explore and make sure that you are choosing a partner that has a growth mindset around sex. Because one of the biggest challenges I hear is people are like, I've tried to talk to my partner about it, and they will not talk about it. They think if we have to talk about it, that our sex life is over, that it should just be this magical thing that's always great. And I am telling you, this is so common that usually there's one person in the relationship pushing the boulder up the hill, and then there's like another one who's like, nope, I'm out. So choose wisely. Like, just say to them, are you down with exploring and talking? Because I've heard that sex just like health, just like your job growth is something that takes prioritization and commitment and conversation and honesty and evolves. So make sure that you're somebody who's down. Yeah, I'm open to talking. I'm open to exploring. I'm open to listening to podcasts about it, learning about it. Checking our hormones, making sure our medications aren't impacting our drive. I can't tell you, the second pillar of sex IQ is health. And people are oh, the birth control pill could affect the antidepressants, blood thinner. Yes. If you're not moving your body and you don't exercise and move your body, well, that's blood flow. Maybe that's why you're not having as many orgasms or erections. So really you're in those relationships where maybe you're both working out together and you're meditating together, you're doing all the things. You can also look at your sex life as something that you're doing together. It's not something that you should silo and separate from each other. So that's the couples that's my advice for couples to start.
What was the manual, or where do we get that
Owner's
information?
manual. The manual is, I have a book I wrote called Smart Sex, How to Boost Your Sex IQ and Own Your Pleasure. And I wrote about these 5 pillars of sex IQ. When I was writing it, and it was at the end of the book, and then I was late, which isn't a surprise, but I was late getting it into the publisher. I was like, oh my God, it's these 5 pillars. It's not just one thing. So now I launched this membership, Smartest X, which anyone can join. And we are literally breaking down every single pillar. We have coaches and tips. I'll be there holding your hand, a community of accountable people that are going to help you in each area understand your own desires, what you require, so you can be your own sex expert and create your own owner's manual, so you can finally have the sex life that you deserve and that you want, without just it being this mysterious, I hope it works out, because we're going to cover all the bases.
Before sex, what are 3 ways 2 people can connect to sort of just calm their nervous systems, co-regulate, and then go into intimate time?
So I think the first thing we can do is just sort of, before actual sex, before we just start going at it, I think it's important to make sure that you are both take a few deep breaths together. I love a little bit of eye gazing, breathing, how you doing, babe? How was today? Let's just take a few deep breaths together. Let's just make sure we're both feeling calm, we're at a good place, making sure we're all of our needs are met, whatever it is the windows are closed. And also, once we've built our owner's manuals, we know, I know that I need a lube on my nightstand. That is my mission. When I die, I think it was Steve Jobs, he wants a computer on every desk. I need my lube on my nightstand. I need my toys charged. So for couples, I think, and this is why I love that we're going to do this. We're going to show you guys all how to co-regulate, but I think it's just a little bit of breathing, a little bit of looking to each other's eyes. Are we ready? Slowing everything down. One of my top tips is to go 3 times slower than you think. Extend the kissing. Kissing is one of the first thing that goes in long-term relationships. Anyone else notice that? You love the makeouts at the beginning, and now we don't do any of that. So I would say breathing, some slow touches, regulating, going slow, checking in, becoming attuned. The other thing is a lot of us, when we are living in shame and stress and trauma in our bodies, the other thing that happens besides disassociation and numbing is that we also are not attuned. We're not actually noticing that our partner's breath is quickening, or they feel a little bit frozen, or they pulled back from this touch, or they lean forward because they were aroused. All the signs are there, but when we're in our head, we're kind of missing the cues. So that's why I love a little bit of breathing together, because when you breathe, you are landing in the moment. Another great tip for couples and for any kind of stressful situation is to focus on your 5 senses, because anxiety and worry is anxiety, you're worried about the future, worried something's happened in the past. When you ground yourself, and I'll do this during sex, because I still get distracted. I'm like you. What I think is, I go in a cycle. I'm okay, 5 senses. What am I touching? Okay, my hands are my partner's body. What am I smelling? That vanilla candle I just lit. What am I hearing? What am I tasting? What am I smelling? And when you do that cycle of the senses, you are immediately dropped in the moment. You cannot be anywhere else. And you might have to do it a few times, but it brings you back. And it's a great way you can do that with your partner too and say, let's just be here. Let's just come together for a moment. Like, I love the way my hands feel on your body. You can also start speaking it like, oh, that candle smells so good. I love the way you feel. What a great playlist, right? And then you're both getting on the same page and co-regulating.
Thank you. This is a message to the fellas here and listening. Women know when you're not present.
Oh, yeah.
They have a very fine-tuned antenna that tells when you're in your head. And presence is one of the most beautiful things when we can actually drop in our body, drop to the environment, feel safe, and then our partner, or even our partner, whatever it is, can feel us there, can feel us present, can feel us connected. It's a game changer.
Yeah, it really is. I love that you brought that up because I don't know, I know that I've been with people where like they close their eyes, but not in a way that it's like they're like off. I'm like, what are they thinking about? Are they thinking about their ex? Is this feel good? You go in your head, or they're just like, you feel it. Like it's a felt experience. Like this person has left the room. And I think that women do it too, but maybe sometimes we're not as attuned and it's really lonely. And that's when we say like, I don't really feel connected. And I think that when we say that, I love this question is like, we're like, I don't know what happened. I just don't feel connected anymore. That's the somatic experiencing that's hard to say. Like, what do you mean? I'm there. Like, my penis is inside of you. Like, how could we be less connected? Like, or how could we not be connected? And so it's subtle. It's just this little like, something's just off here. You've left the room and I'm here.
Thank you, Emily. As we round out this conversation, you talk about a lot. You've been talking about a lot.
A lot.
Not just now, in your whole life and everything you've done. Is there anything we missed that is really potent in your heart that you want the viewers, listeners, and the people here to really take home?
I guess a few things I want to say is, first off, today could be the first day of the rest of your sex life because you're not broken, nothing's wrong with you, it's never too late to start. And we were not given a lot of this information, and we're still every day learning new information. So you're good, and thank you for listening to this conversation. And the second part is that we're going to get into is that after doing a podcast for 20 years, I know it's a long time, a lot of talking. And what I'm always saying is like, okay, I get to the felt part, I get to the somatic part. The first step of sex IQ is embodiment. And sometimes I find I lose people because they're like, what do you mean in your body? Or I don't want to, that stuff is too woo. But what we're going to do here, and why I just love Dr. G and all the work that you do and how you make it so accessible, and you get people to truly feel like, this to me is a huge part of all the talking that you've learned, is that when you can truly learn to be attuned and in your body and present, this is when you're going to actually be able to not only give pleasure, but receive pleasure in a way that you might never have felt before. So
Beautiful.
thank you for what you do too. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Emily.
you.
Where do we find you and any projects that you want us all to know about?
Yes. Okay. So everything is at Sex with Emily. All social media. My website is Sex with Emily, Smart SX. You can find also on my website. I'm excited. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but I'm doing a free masterclass on March 12th for everybody. It's open to everybody. It is a masterclass about sex, but really just follow me everywhere. Send your questions. Listen to the podcast. I hope to see you all again soon. I'm doing more live events, so let's hang out.
That's right. Thank you, Emily, for all your wisdom, how you've empowered so many people. I see you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.